Hey everybody, this is Bob Kovacs here at Wirefly with a brand new phone. This is the LG Revolution, and it is a 4G phone on Verizon's 4G LTE network. If you look right there, you can see the 4G symbol. So this will be the third phone on Verizon's 4G LTE network. The first was the Thunderbolt, and then we had the Samsung Droid Charge, and here we have the LG Revolution. So let's go ahead and take a look at the LG Revolution. First, some of the basic statistics, some of the basic specifications on the phone. It has a 1 gigahertz processor, 512 megabytes of processor RAM. It comes with 16 gig of onboard memory and has a 16 gig micro SD card pre-installed. So it comes with 32 gigs of storage right out of the box, 16 gig on board and 16 gig in the form of a micro SD card. I mentioned that it has 4G LTE service from Verizon, and I've done some testing with that. I got 10.4 megabits per second on one test, and then in another test I got 10.1 megabits. Very nice scores. Okay, some of the other things, as you look at the display here, it is a 4.3-inch diagonal display with 480 by 800 resolution. So it is not one of the new breed of phones that's coming out with 540 by 960. This has, as I said, 480 by 800. Now this is one of the first phones to be able to do Netflix directly, and I'll give you a little demonstration of how the Netflix works. On the back of the Revolution, there's a 5 megapixel camera with a single LED flash. This also does 720p HD video, and I'll give you a little video demonstration in a moment. But before I get started with anything like that, let's take a little tour around the phone. Now notice that it's got these zoomy chrome strips on the side. Here we have an HDMI connector, so it has a micro HDMI connector on the side. On top we have the standard on-off button and audio jack. It's a 3.5 millimeter audio jack. And we have another zoomy chrome thing here, and underneath this one is the standard micro USB port. Taking the cover off, the battery is a 1500 milliamp hour battery, and you see there is a SIM card here. Verizon's 4G LTE service requires a SIM card. Now the actual technology is completely different than the technology that's used in GSM phones such as AT&T and T-Mobile, but it does require a SIM card. However, SIMs from T-Mobile and AT&T will not function in this because the technology that they use is completely different from Verizon's LTE technology. Here is the slot for the micro SD card, and you can't really tell from where you are, but you have to get the battery out to be able to get the micro SD card out, unfortunately. So anyway, it's got a 16 gig micro SD card. Chances are you won't have to remove that card very often. I'm going to go ahead and put the back cover on. I'm going to show you now how the Netflix works. I was watching Netflix a little earlier. It's going to come up with some suggestions for me. I was watching a movie called Under Still Waters. It sounded like a very dramatic drama, possibly with some not very nice things happening. And it's going to ask me if I want to resume it. So let's go ahead and resume it. I'm getting very good 4G reception down here, so I should be able to go ahead and resume that movie. It looks much better for me directly than it does on camera, but I thought the image quality was pretty darn good. So these two are going to do a little snuggling here in just a moment. So very nice. Okay, that's enough of that. Don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. So this was very easy. I logged into my Netflix account, and it immediately brought up the films that I could watch. Whoops. The films that I could watch streaming from Netflix, and I thought that worked out very well. There we go. So I also did some work with the camera. It has both a front-facing and a rear camera. I showed you the rear camera before. And here is the front-facing camera. To switch between the two, touch the menu key, and now it's on the front camera, and you can see that it automatically detected my face. Yeah, and there I am. Okay, let's switch back to the other side. Of course, this is the switch you use to select between video and still image. Now it's on video. Now we're back to still image. Now I shot some photos with this. Unfortunately, I didn't have my usual subjects around to show the flesh tones, but I set up a little still life at my desk, and I thought it did a very nice job with the still life. I thought the colors looked good. I thought the sharpness, the focus was good. When I zoomed in, it was nice and clear. So I was pretty impressed with the still image camera, at least with the limited light I had in an office setting. Then I went outside and I shot a little video, and here's the video that I shot outside. This is a video test of the LG Revolution. I'm running the video at 720p HD, and it's mostly overcast today, mostly cloudy, occasional patches of sun, a little bit of blue sky here and there, but mostly clouds. So I'm not getting strong direct sun on me. I can see the screen, and it's not terribly bright out here in the daylight during the midday, but not too bad. Now the screen had enough light on it that it was washed out somewhat, but I could see what I was shooting. It was a fairly bright, cloudy sky, and I could see the screen to recognize what it was I was pointing at, although it's going to be harder to view any cell phone outside than it is inside, of course. So I thought that the video looked pretty good. I thought the audio with the video was actually surprisingly good. However, the format that the audio was recorded in, it was a 3GPP format, or 3GP. And when I played it back directly, I had to take the card out of this phone, plug it into my computer, and I could play the video on my computer. However, I couldn't play the audio on my Windows 7 computer. So I had to convert it to a different format in order to hear the audio. The audio that you heard was that audio that I had converted with that video format. So anyway, now the other thing that I like to do is to run some benchmark tests. I'm going to go ahead and run the quadrant benchmark, and we'll pick it up once the benchmark testing is done and see the results. This is the final graphics test in the quadrant application, and now it asks if I want the results, and of course I want the results. Excellent score here. It's very small print, but the score on the quadrant test here for the LG Revolution was 2133, 2,133. That is an excellent score. Now this is a 1 gigahertz processor, single core processor device, yet that score is pretty darn close to what I've seen from dual core processors out of the box. Now you could always overclock these and get faster scores and so forth, but this is right out of the box, and that's a very impressive score. Okay, I'm going to go back, and now I'm going to run the Smart Bench application. This is another bench test application, so I'm going to go ahead and run Smart Bench, and I will again pick it up when the application is ready to be finished. This is the last part of the Smart Bench 2011 test. It's called the Jellyfish test, and shortly it will ask me if I want to get the results, and of course I want to get the results. Here we go. And there we have the results. It's, of course, Smart Bench 2011 gives you two numbers. One is called the Productivity Index, the other is called the Games Index. And the LG Revolution scored 1250, 1,250 on productivity, and 1298, 1,298 on the Games Index. So those are sort of average nowadays. I find it very interesting that the Revolution got such a high score on Quadrant, but it got kind of average to high scores on Smart Bench 2011. This is actually kind of similar to the HTC Thunderbolt. Got a very high score in Quadrant, and very similar scores in the Smart Bench 2011 application. So I'm not exactly sure what all of that means, but I did want to show it to you. So I'm going to go back, and since I mentioned the HTC Thunderbolt, that is the Thunderbolt. So these two phones both have a 4.3-inch diagonal screen, and if we put one on top of the other, let's turn them sideways here. The Thunderbolt is just a little bit shorter than the Revolution, but it's just a very small amount. They're both about the same width, and they're both about the same thickness. Now, the Thunderbolt has a kickstand that allows the phone to stand up. The LG Revolution does not have a kickstand. This is just a strip here for decoration. So although you can show movies with it, you can't easily stand it up. You'll have to prop it up against something if you want it to be leaned up, or you'll have to balance it on your knee or whatever. So that is how the LG Revolution compares with another one of its stablemates on Verizon. Some of the other features that I wanted to mention here with respect to the LG Revolution: it runs Android 2.2, and it is an LCD screen, so the display technology here is LCD technology. And that's a review of the LG Revolution. I'm Bob Kovacs. Thanks for watching.